big hip swing, more muscular turn.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Europe is Coming podcast. My name's Adam Giles, and as ever, I'm joined by John Singleton. How are you, John?
I'm good. It's the last week of like our competition period, so just being in the getting ready for the flow of that.
Yeah, it's Mad Fitness Festival on the horizon. How's the prep been going? Is everything ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we, in terms of like organizational things, I mean, it's relatively easy for us because we're not actually putting on the event. We're going to have like a cool stand there. I mean, if anyone is in Madrid this weekend, we're going to be doing some cool activations, some classes and different things going on over the weekend. So been busy organizing that. And if you check out the socials, our socials, you'll see links to sign up to those things going out. But it's been relatively classic. We've had Chris, our head coach, has done like the semi-final run. So he went Paris, South Africa, and then is coming to Madrid this weekend. So he's been basically 3 weeks away, more or less, and that's allowed me to focus on just finalizing details of the competition here.
Yeah, nice. That is some travel for Chris as well. How was I was going to say, how was the Rebel Games?
I think it was good. It was pretty intense because they had 9 events.
Yeah, 9's a lot.
9 events over 4 days is for a semi-final is pretty tough. And I would say that there was more level there than there had been maybe previously, because they've done different rules in the past. I think previously you had to be like a Dubai resident or some things like this. And this was maybe the first year they opened it up, and they therefore had more level when they were there. So I think it was good. And then you obviously had Turin Pro as well this weekend, which because of Rebel Renegade Games, I didn't actually follow too much of Turin, but what I did see, it looked, they put on a good show.
Yeah, well, I spent most of my time watching Turin, so
okay.
we've probably divided and conquered well here.
Yeah.
And take us through some of the Turin stuff, and you can kind of fill me in on what happened at Renegades. I had a look at the leaderboard for Renegade. I actually pull it up. I didn't recognize, and it could be me, but I didn't recognize a lot of the guys competing. I did recognize quite a lot on the female side of things, but not so much on the gents. So I'll pull up the guys' leaderboard first, and then we can kind of talk through this, and then perhaps go through female leaderboard. But Ben Fowler came in top. Ruan, I'm sorry, Ruan, I'm going to butcher your name, surname, Potitia. Sorry about that. And then Janard Finkenberg were the top 3. Can you fill us in on the guys and
yeah? So Ben Fowler's from New Zealand, and he's started to pop up a bit on like the smaller level competitions around. He did very well at Crucible this year, almost beat Moritz in workouts that were very good for Moritz. So that's when he kind of first came onto some more people's radar as well. And he's living in Dubai, so that's why he was. Well, I don't know why. Also, probably the fact that it was an easier semi-final to qualify from as well helped. But he was there instead of at Turin Pro, and it did really well. Like just solid performance all the way through, and was like the clear standout of the weekend.
Okay, cool.
Ruan is a South African athlete, so I think of this top 5, he's the only one from or local to that area. He did very well, obviously finishing second. There was like a lot more of a closer race between him and Jan. They were back and forth a bit over the weekend. I mean, basically Ben took the lead from the first workout and then never looked back. I mean, he's almost he's over 100 points ahead of second in that. So he probably wouldn't have even had to do the final event and would have still managed to to win. So it's a pretty dominant performance. Max Krieg, so Jan, obviously, we've spoken about Jan quite a lot. He'd be very disappointed not to get his games ticket.
Yeah, it was top 2 from the
just top 1.
Top 1, so it was just Ben.
Just Ben. And there were a few, like he executed really well on some workouts, some highs. There were some workouts he didn't perform as well as he could have done. And then also there were some like judging factors in. You can see some of the lower places for him, like the third workout, he's in 28th place, which is a workout that he should have, he did very well in training, but ended up getting a lot of no reps and that costs. It's just this, what happens at CrossFit competitions. But he ended up, at one point, I think he was around 10th, so managed to climb back up through the weekend as well. Max is a US athlete, and I believe he has qualified to the games previously. He was a US part of, I think he's of the US Army, I think, or one of the forces in the States. I don't know if he's been posted somewhere outside of the US, which is why he was there. And then in 5th place, we have Thiago, who's, again, one of our program athletes. He qualified to the games through Far East last year, was at Mayhem, and then decided to go out there to try to get his spot. But then end up taking 5th place.
Yeah, which, still great achievement to kind of get into the top 5. But it does seem with only one spot, and we talked about this on last week's show where, there's 7, is it, if I'm correct? 7 spots for the online competition. Yeah. And I mean, I think there's been I've seen a few people comment on this. Why not give the semi-finals some more spots, qualify athletes through, and then have less for the online? But it seems to be the way. I mean,
arguably even more so at Turin this weekend was you obviously got like a crazy, especially it's probably pretty loaded in the top 4, top 5. But yeah, the guys trying to get through at Turin was not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I don't have the workouts here in front of me, unfortunately. I couldn't seem to find them online. But were there any that stood out to you in terms of the programming from Rebel?
I think it happened a bit like French, where it became a bit hard to follow what was going on. Like you'll see event 4, which is the double under ring muscle up and front squat. They were just like max rep events in these windows. And so it's really hard to know, you're just seeing an athlete on the rings, but you have no idea as a spectator where, you're just seeing however long of it is people doing double unders, ring muscle ups, front squat with no. So I think.
What was the time domain for those out of interest?
I believe they had 3 minutes.
Okay.
And with the rest in between. So, and 3 minutes of double unders of no advancing is not. So I think that maybe some of the fan experience could have been a bit better to see what's happening on the floor. Mm-hmm. Also, it's interesting that of all the regions, Africa was the one that decided to take on 4 days and 9 events, which is a strange choice. But yeah, I think in general the athletes were happy. When you've gone somewhere to get your games ticket and you don't get it, it's hard to be it's hard to be happy when you've not achieved that. But I think in general they had a good time, good experience, and you'll see the same on the female side as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously super challenging. Everyone with only one spot, it's a hard one to edge, and I can understand obviously the disappointment in not achieving your goal, but at the same time to go and compete and throw down, as long as it's a good experience and like a well-run comp, then hopefully they enjoyed it. On the women's side, Hannah Black punching her ticket. Hannah obviously sort of becoming more prevalent on the scene through the WFP in recent times, always known for her strong lifting.
Huge weights.
Yeah, so good to see her now making it to the games, because I know she's been trying for a couple of years. Then Var Thurman Mo in second, Matilda Garns in third. Tana Buffy in fourth, and Igna Loftus-Ness. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll put my teeth back in. Normally rely on John for pronunciation help with European names. But that rounds out our top five.
I appreciate you taking it on.
And yeah, certainly the top three are names that I recognise within the CrossFit space. What was it like on the female side of the comp this weekend?
I think it was a very similar story to the guys. Hannah Black, she didn't necessarily lead from the start in the same way as Ben Fowler, but she looked pretty comfortable all weekend and was comfortably in the lead. Matilda,
she's like top four pretty much the whole way through, from what I can see on the scoring so far.
And then you start to, as she goes forward, you then start to get more event wins in there as well, or at least one here. She got 1 on seconds in the event win, but she just almost got better as the competition went along. Matilda was probably even on the leaderboard, you can see again in the same way as Jan. She really struggled. This was in essence a handstand push-up workout where she really struggled and took a 27th. If that wasn't the case, she would have been a lot closer, but I still think Hannah was that step ahead. And then VAR obviously was just very consistent all the way through, but not at the same level as Hannah. And then the Tana, I don't know as much, and Inga is another Norwegian athlete.
Yeah, it feels like
we're decided to make a bit of a trip over.
We're seeing more and more Norwegian athletes, especially on the female side, in leaderboards at the moment. At WFP in London, it was almost half of the top heat was Norwegian ladies. So they are definitely going to be on more leaderboards to come, no doubt.
Yeah, it's true. They've really got it's like a solid group. Then there's a lot of them who like to go and compete, and some of them have obviously chosen to do WFP. Some have not, because I don't know if some of the people who've done WFP might just try the online games rather than traveling to lots of different competitions. But I heard that even Matilda may come to Madrid this weekend to try and get her ticket there. This is going to be an interesting one. Like how many of the athletes show up to get their in-person ticket. The online, I think it will be easier, but with a caveat of, you've got a lot of unknowns regarding online judging. And also, if you've got a particular weakness, such as Matilda on the handstand push-ups or something like that, and that workout shows up, because of the volume of people that are doing it, it might actually take you out. Whereas in person, you can tend to buff that. And an interesting reason is actually the scoring system that we've talked about a few times. Like typically the in-person weights the winning, whereas online doesn't weight the winning. So that's an interesting difference there.
Yes, it's going to be really interesting to see how that affects who goes in the end. And perhaps it's a good time to come over to Torian leaderboards. And we can talk about who made it in the Torian. And on the guy side, there was one big kind of name from outside of the Oceania region, and that was Justin Medeiros, who's obviously won the CrossFit Games twice, coming over, and he missed out coming fourth. And it was sort of a battle between him and Bailey Martin all weekend. That was kind of the big news. So Ricky Garrard, it was kind of, there were two battles going on basically. It was Ricky and Jay who were going to win their third Torian, because they both won 2 each. And then it was between Bailey and Justin to see who was going to get that final spot on the leaderboard. So the leaderboard reads Ricky Garrard, number one. He won his third Torian Pro. Jay Crouch came in second, so he sits still on 2. So you can see, and they're both proven athletes, and that's something else I wanted to kind of talk about. Proven kind of, obviously because of their links to Australia, both the owners being Australian. They were there in force. Jay Crouch and Ricky, both proven athletes, 1 and 2, and then Bailey Martin coming in third and Justin Medeiros in fourth. And then you had Riley Martin, who seems to have be quite big in the social media circle. He got like a couple of the biggest cheers all weekend just because the fans seem to really like him. That's Bailey's brother. Isaac Newman is 6th, Zach Thomas 7th, and Brandon Gaskill in 8th, to name a few. So yeah, really strong performance on the guys field.
Also, this the one thing I did see is the Hiko. I'm obviously pronouncing that wrong, but he was he's quite the character to watch. I mean, it's just like really powerful having those Maori facial tattoos and seeing him perform. It's like he definitely had, if he can up his level to qualify and put his name kind of in being one of the top athletes, I think it'd be an amazing personality to follow.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that's something that this region offers quite a lot of, is that personality, that feel. You kind of get a sense from the atmosphere as well there, with the fact that they have different kind of the fire going off on the sides, and the Pat Roth Arena sort of being an indoor-outdoor stadium because it's got that kind of like area. It's just there's a definitive vibe there, and then having like a hacker as well in the middle of proceedings. It's cool. It's really cool event to watch. I'd love to go one year. It does seem like it's just got a vibe to it that's quite unique. And the events were also really fun to watch. I think Royce Dunn was part of the programming team for this. I think they did a really good job on the programming. There was a couple of really fun events with like the muscle ups into the snatch ladder was really fun, and that's the one that Hiko I think won. It was a fun race. So they had some, and then they had a wall as well in the middle. So instead of a log, they went for a timber wall, which was an interesting one to chuck in the middle of burpee over the wall as well in the middle of a workout. So that's some really interesting elements as well, I thought, from a program perspective.
From the little that I did see, it was, it looked like the most energy of any semi-final that has happened so far. It just, actually, we went over a number of times. Jacqueline actually had won the Turin Pro before it was a semi-final. I think back in the day, and they used to host it in their own gym as well.
In the gym, yeah.
But the gym's huge, but they've managed to somehow transfer that like small community feel over to the bigger stadium, which is really cool to see. How did it look spectator wise? Did it look full?
It looked pretty full, even on the first day, which I think was, I lose track because they're so far ahead. So I think I was watching it on like Friday morning, which was Thursday night, but technically they're Friday. I lose track because they're like a day ahead of us. But yeah, even on the Friday, it looked like busy, not like full, but busy, which typically is a quieter day because people have work and things like that, so they can't always get there. But yeah, it looked busy all weekend, and like Tia and Shane were there as well. Tia jumped on comms for a bit, so it was the Aussies turned out and the Kiwis turned out. It was a good event.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're, as much as it's sad for Justin, I'm sure that they're all happy to see like a full Oceania flags dominating the way.
Yeah, he seemed, again, I don't know, only kind of judging from interviews and media that I've seen, he seemed sort of bummed, but at the same time kind of happy to go, and his partner Ellie did really well, and we'll perhaps talk about her in a second because she had a real comeback weekend. But yeah, I think he's kind of online qualifying, online semis now focused. But interesting, the only one of the boys interrupted crew, I think, that hasn't qualified yet. So so he'll be keen to punch his online ticket, I think, for sure.
Yeah, and it just shows the depth of this region. It's just such a long way away that it doesn't get as much traction, but they've managed to really keep the energy in this event, and it's cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. So having a look at the female side of the leaderboard, which I think potentially even more stacked than the guys. Maddie Sturt winning for the ladies, then Ellie Turner coming in second, Kyra Merrigan in third, Isabella Vallejo, who is a teen champion, which I wasn't aware of until I had watched that. She had actually won the teen games, and just kind of another one. I swear every year we have another athlete who's won a teen games that shows up on a leaderboard and has either made it to the games or is close to it. So I'm sure we'll be seeing more of her. She'll be, joining some of the ranks of some of the other teen games podium contenders and champions we've got now, who are now sort of mainstays. Daisy McDonald came in 5th, Ella Price in 6th, Jess Green 7th, Stephanie Collins in 8th. So yeah, really, really fun to watch the women throw down this week. Maddie Sturt sort of started a bit slower, but as soon as she got into kind of the Saturday, started to really turn up the heat and just super consistent in the events. But the kind of main story really was Ellie Turner. She obviously had a long time out with a back injury. And some of the media that I caught, she was kind of like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get through the entire competition kind of situation. Like, I haven't done like a CrossFit comp. She did Wodapalooza, but hadn't really done anything since then, and didn't know if she would get through the weekend. And then won the first event by a massive event, so a massive margin. So they had an uphill run with a ruck, and she was something like 10 or 20 seconds off Ricky Garrard's time, but she had slowed down because she was already so far ahead in the lead. So if she had if they were going at the same time, the women and the men went at different times. If they'd gone together and maybe she had seen Ricky, she maybe could have done Ricky's time as well. But yeah, she was absolutely smoked it. So all of that running she's been doing while she's not been able to do any hinging with CrossFit, turns out she's a bit of a weapon when it comes to the running. And yeah, just making it back to the CrossFit Games, which she seemed pretty grateful and emotional about, and had like quite a heartwarming speech at the end when she got interviewed.
I saw some of the speech. It was very nice to see. She's I think as well, being like a CrossFit couple or an athletic couple, it's just constantly in your world. There's presumably train together, the friendships, etc. So there's
especially when your partner's won the games twice and is constantly trying to get back to that level. I imagine kind of being part of his support system and also then missing that element of it must be challenging as well.
Yeah, so it'd be exciting to see, and hopefully she stays healthy leading up to the games and can put on a show there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cara Milligan from the US, so sort of doing what Justin unfortunately couldn't, makes it to the games through qualification. She looks really strong, had a couple of really, really strong event wins, and she's part of the Proven team now. She seems to have really sort of, since joining Proven, she went on a games team, I think, with Mayhem, if I'm not mistaken.
She's actually Kiefer's partner. So when Kiefer left Underdogs, she left with him. And so she's been under the same kind of coach for a lot of years. But I agree. I feel like she just have a more confidence or something changed a bit. And she seems to want to have like established herself on the scene a bit more.
Yeah, and that confidence that you mentioned definitely seemed apparent on the floor. There would definitely seem to be like taking workouts by the scruff of the neck and really sort of pushing where she could. So yeah, I think these three ladies are going to do some real damage at the games, if I'm honest, if they perform like they did there. But something else I wanted to kind of talk about around this, and I was keen to understand it, because we often talk about what it's like traveling to the US, because a lot of athletes that go to the games travel outside from other countries to the US. And we've always kind of discussed from a European perspective, how much does that affect their performance there? And when Rogue was in the UK, and we've had some other competitions like WFP now in Europe, starting to see US athletes have to talk about that more and be like, oh, actually the travel's a lot harder than I thought it was. And then you look at something like Justin coming over and maybe and not making it this time. I was going to ask you, what do you think the travel effect is like? Because I'd be really interested to, I'll finish my question in a second, but I'd be really interested to see if they move the games to Australia, would we have a completely different leaderboard than if the games in the US, for instance?
I think you might do. Like it does have an impact on on level. There's no doubt about that. Like when you start changing time zones, all of these things, you probably expect some performance drop. I think then in the cases of someone like Tier and Fraser, they have so much surplus that those percentages drops don't reflect in placing because they've just been better than the rest of the field. But I do think when you need that to be 100% in order to get 100% out of the competition to start to play a role. So I think in general, travel really affects performance. It's the longer time zones you fly through, the more impact it will have. And a general rule of thumb, which is not the worst, but you need like a day per hour in order to adapt, which might not seem like much, but all of a sudden when you go to California for us and you're like 8-9 hours difference, that's already a whole week of, or 8-9 days of literally just adapting to the time zone. That's not getting back to performance level. So those times matter. Then I'd also say there's a big personality element that factors into how well athletes travel. And for the athletes who like to be at home, like the routine, and don't like anything changing that routine, then the travel's a lot more of can be a lot more of a burden for them because you all of a sudden have to sleep in a new bed, new environment. And I'm sure anyone who's traveled knows that the first night you sleep in a different hotel room or a different place, you start to feel that there's a temperature difference. There's all of these different things that are impacted. And the best athletes in the world will micromanage this to a crazy degree. I mean, like the stories of Fraser, for example, I don't think he's an athlete that's traveled super well. I think mainly because he didn't like it. You know, he liked his own routine. When you hear stories of them basically shipping out a bed and the same mattress, so when he's in the hotel room, he can have the setup almost exactly the same as his home room. There's like extreme levels at which you can go to in order to optimize things. And the golfers, some of the golfers out there, because the CrossFit travel schedule compared to most other professional sports is easy. When you start looking at what the pro golfers have to do, or tennis players when they're traveling around the world, it gets pretty insane. But the amount of equipment that they would have brought to them or shipped with them, all just so they can optimize recovery on the course, is pretty incredible. I mean, I'm just rambling on now, but LeBron, because when the US basketball team came over to Paris, they didn't stay with the rest of the Olympic crew. They completely sorted out like their own hotel that they spent millions on reforming and making sure that it was optimized with recovery centers, food, chef, all of these things. So to put it into context, like athletes who have the resources will spend tens of millions of dollars in order to minimize the effects of travel. So it does have some impact.
Yeah. So I mean, with that in mind, I'm just really interested to see how the Aussie athletes do at the games, because someone like Ricky, who's been in and around it and close to it a number of times, I wonder how much that's affected him. I mean, you look at Tia sort of after her success at the games, basically moving to Nashville for half of the year so she could be fully acclimatized and have a home base not that far away from wherever the games are going to be. I wonder how much it will play into this. But I was super impressed with the 6 athletes from this region that made it, and I think they're definitely going to be taking some points when they're over in California this year. It's also worth mentioning the team competition. Well, I haven't really paid much attention to the team competition.
I didn't follow any team. Well, okay, here's some early predictions. Do you think any of these girls make top 10 at games?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think top 10. Whether top 5.
Okay.
Yes, I think one of them makes top 5.
Which Madeline or?
I don't know, because we don't know what the workouts are yet. But from this and consistency of performance in the past, I think Madeline will get gets close to top 5. What about you?
I mean, she's been so long, and she's becoming a bit of a veteran of the sport now, considering how long she's been in. And I don't see top 5, but I could see top 10 coming through. Then on the guys' side, you could put each one of those guys in top 5, I think.
Yeah, I think Ricky or Jay, one of the two are going to be definitely.
You could go down. It's crazy. That's how high the level was. You could go down to 4th place and be like, I wouldn't be surprised if any of those guys were top 5. That's just how high it is and how hard it was. And it's impressive, the brother thing as well, for Rai to be doing so well. If you finish like top 5 in that competition, as Rai did, like, you are like you're a legitimate games athlete, or at least at that level.
Yeah, he wasn't even in the top. He was like until the last day or something. So he like every year has to kind of like battle his way into that top heat. But I think in a couple of years we're going to be talking a lot more about Riley Martin. I wouldn't be surprised. He's definitely going to be in and around it. And speaking of the games, just a bit of a check-in where we are in terms of events. So Touring Pro, Rebel Renegade Games ticks off the list. Next weekend, May 29th.
Weekend, actually.
Oh yeah, this weekend is going to be very busy for CrossFit events. If you like CrossFit events, one, that's probably why you're listening to us, and 2, you are not going to be disappointed this weekend. You've got Syndicate Crown, which has already had some heavy praise on the programming. I don't think they've had a glimpse of the Mad Fitness Festival programming, so hopefully they will soon, because I think it's definitely on a par with the Syndicate Crown. But that's happening this weekend as well. Again, I'm biased, but the Mad Fitness Festival event is this weekend as well. And then the NorCal CrossFit California, the Northern California Classic, I should call it as its proper name, otherwise known as NorCal Classic, is also 29th to the 1st of June. So there's an extra day on the NorCal event. I think
it's just the time zone that it ends at 1 a.m.
Gotcha.
But it's interesting. I have heard a lot about Syndicate, and I think that's JR has a lot of support, like from the programming and also from the media. You got pushed quite a lot, but I haven't heard much about Northern California Classic.
No,
they always have some like interesting programming choices. So I'm interested to see if I haven't seen their programming, so I'm interested to see if they push the boundaries again of doing that.
Yeah, it's also going to be interesting to see what the split of athletes is like. I imagine that a lot of the Northern American athletes are going to be showing up at Syndicate. But does that mean that some will be gaming the system and being like, well, if everyone's going to Syndicate, I'm going to go to NorCal? I don't know.
Yeah, I would guess so. I guess they're trying to edge their bets a little. Now, it's the last weekend, so a lot of the big athletes are through. But like Madrid, I'm.
Do you have any idea of who's coming to Madrid? I have seen loads. I've seen Jack Farlow talking about Madrid quite a lot. He tuned into our live stream, which was really cool. So thank you, Jack, if you do listen.
I'm excited to see, because when it's the first weekend, like, hey, everyone's coming. Whereas now, like the people who obviously made it through, I don't think we'll see. Whereas the people who haven't made it through, I think we'll see. And that's actually there's a lot of like decent level that hasn't qualified yet, especially from Europe. Obviously, Jason took one of the European spots, so that means you've got quite a wedge of guys coming down and through. And the European females is always so stacked that with the depth that we have, we'll have some more level. I mean, Amy and Lucy are through, Miriam through, and they'd all be picks for. I'd say the 3 European picks for. I think Gabby, for example. I don't know if Gabby's competing. I need to check. really check the leaderboard. I've not even looked at the leaderboard. We've just been focusing on like the behind the scenes thing and making sure it's good. But I don't know if Gabby will compete actually, because she doesn't have a spot if she risks it to be just online.
Yeah, I had a look for it earlier. I couldn't seem to find it, so it's not on.
In fact, I've got
website.
it.
Cool. Yeah, if you could pull it up. I think, yeah, it's going to be interesting, and this kind of comes back to an earlier point that you made a little while ago. It'd be nice to have just one overall leaderboard that all these competitions could feed into, so we could see who's qualified and not. Because at the moment, it's a bit chaos, us trying to figure out who's going to be where, and I can't imagine what it's like for the event organizers having to be like, are they coming to my event? Are they not?
And speaking of that, it's interesting that we've heard basically nothing from Bruce Edwards.
Mm.
And I think it's maybe a sign that he's not going to be a very publicly facing CEO. But I think these are things, obviously it's also interesting to see, like, is the sport going to be a big thing for him as well?
Mm.
Do you see the screen that I have?
Yeah, let me pull it, bring it up. 2 seconds. Here we go. We're in.
So this is Matt. So this is unfortunately, with the system as well, what a lot of athletes have been doing is, they get their ticket somewhere and they might not show up. So we don't know who's fully going to be there, but they've kept the ticket. So Aline has done very well, Swiss athlete, but she had a neck injury. So I don't know if she'll be competing or not. Anais is one of our athletes training at C23. Andrea Moister, she did very well at Wodapalooza this year and then did well at French. She has some holes. But, considering how well she's done at certain competitions, to put her in the mix as well. You've got Bergros, a young Icelandic athlete who, again, we mentioned her about WFP, but she does very well. You've got Claudia Gluck, obviously, going to be a favourite on there. Connie Easby, a UK athlete who's done well in competitions. Elena, Spanish Games athlete. Ella, one of our athletes as well, been to the Games. Ella Wilkinson, who's kind of started pushing up a bit the ranks as well. Gabby is here. So if Gabby's competing, you got Holly, who did well at French. Jennifer Muir, who's here as well, who I don't think Dennis got her ticket. Christina, who did very well at French. Lucy McGonigal, again. Manon. If all these girls, I pressed the button. If all these girls show up,
yeah, that's stacked.
Matilda. I mean, Sylvia's done very well. I presume Sahar might not be there. Sonu's coming over, but if all of these girls show up, it's going to be a really stacked field.
Yeah, just before we go onto the guys, who's your pick on the ladies' side this weekend out of all of those?
I mean, I think you got to put Gabby in there. You'd think if she's competing, then you would think so.
Mm-hmm.
But Bergros, and then made him. And then also, where's the French Claudia as well? So I think that, but in all honesty, I think picking 3 to qualify on that female side is extremely hard.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's going to be tight.
And then the guys' side, I don't know if European guys are not typically as stacked as European girls, but still, we've got Adrian competing. I mean, he's not competed at live competition in a long time, but previous Games athletes. And Yol, who obviously coming off WFP has smashed, and we've not seen him compete in the game season for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We've then got Guillaume, who has been to the Games before. He was at French, so I presume he's looking hungry to get back. You've got Callum, hometown competition. Been to the Games, Mayhem and French, so probably hungry to get a spot. Colin, Games, looking to get a spot. You've then got this Diogo, who did very well at at French, a Portuguese athlete looking to come through. Fabian Benito, he has been to the games a few times, or once or twice, I think. You've got Fabian, up and coming athlete who's done well at competitions, not been to the games, but has been looking good. Georgos, multiple time games athlete. You've got Haldor, who's a young Icelandic, done very well at semis. Jack Farlow, games athlete. Jan won't be competing. I don't know, has Yoni got his ticket? So maybe even Yoni's competing through. So you got Luis, who's very well at French, who almost took the spot. You've got Michael, who's been to the games multiple times, almost was at French. Miko as well. I mean, honestly, on the guys' side as well, it is really stacked. Svan, who's competing. So yeah, I hadn't been through the leaderboard in that way, but yeah, Madrid's going to be stacked.
And on the guy side, anyone that
Ooh.
you think is going to qualify?
I give it up to Annual home crowd going through.
Yeah, I think Annual really impressed me at WFP last time out, and you said he's really coming for that sort of top European guy spot, and he looked like it when he was at WFP. So I think that's a good shout.
I think Callum as well.
Mm-hmm. He just missed out on French, hey?
Yeah, I think he's a bit further away. His running just really hurts him. He did well at Mayhem, but every run event has just took the possibilities of him doing well. Our first event is quite long with a lot of running, so I don't know how much that impacts. Colin, he's very good. I could see that. I mean, you got to put Jack in there. Maybe Annual, Colin, and Jack. Well, you got Yoni. I was
going to say Yoni.
It's a tough picking threes.
I'm gonna call one thing. I reckon Jonakoski wins the first event.
Oh, I'm gonna go Colin Bossard.
Okay.
Colin. I think Colin could take that. But yeah, if everyone shows up, I mean, Madrid is stacked.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun competition to watch. I was while you were going through that, I was trying to find the Syndicate Crown one, and it doesn't look like they've released the leaderboard for it yet, as far as I can see.
Okay.
So I'm intrigued to see what athlete's going to be there. And I couldn't find the NorCal one either. But yeah, we'll talk about it on next week's show, I'm sure. But it does sound like this weekend is going to be stacked in terms of athletes and in terms of competition. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have some stuff to dig into on next week's show regarding the comps.
Yeah, very true. And it's cool to see Europe so stacked. I mean, I must say that.
Yeah, so if you're going to the Madrid Fitness Festival, you're going to have a fun competition to watch in person, and you get to meet John as well. John will be there. I won't, sadly.
Yeah, it'd be hot.
Yeah, you said you got a heat wave coming to Spain, right?
Yeah, I think athletes need to be prepared. I mean, I'm sure the medical team will need to be briefed as well, to have like lots of water stations and stuff. People doing the outdoor.
Yeah, what time's that first event kickoff? Do you know? Is it
around 9 o'clock, I think. So
okay,
that won't be so bad because it's not like peak summer. So the long period of heat's not there. It more builds towards midday.
Mm-hmm.
But the elite teams go towards midday, so they just need to take like adequate protection. Make sure that they're drinking cold water and wearing hats, all of the classic stuff.
Yeah, nice. Anything else this weekend wise that you're looking forward to from the competition?
I'm a fan of the sport. It was really fun watching French and seeing that, because French had no idea who was going to take the games ticket. So it was very exciting to watch. I mean, maybe the guys was a bit more secure, but anything could have happened. But on the girls' side, it was just, it's one of those where you needed people to come in between or different things to happen. And it was exciting to watch. And I guess with the level this weekend, that could also happen. It's 6 events, so it's not that many, meaning that the athletes will have to execute in each one. And I like to think that we've gone pretty balanced. So, we've gone from, we tried to push the endurance or the length of the workout from the first one as much as we could. And obviously we go like the opposite end of the spectrum, having the snatch. So I think we'll see things mix around as well, because weaknesses in theory will be exposed, and that'll give athletes opportunities to come through.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the programming plays out and how the athletes attack it and stuff. I think there's some really fun events as we talked about when we live streamed. You also mentioned before we started that you got some activations this weekend. So there's a stand and stuff. For people listening, where should they go if they want to check out the program stuff?
Just head on to our socials. I think stories will be going up. People can sign up. We'll have a WhatsApp group and like a link to sign up to the classes, so people can do that. Everything's free for the weekend. We'll be doing a morning, like a bit of a early morning run or stuff. So if you want to get your workout in before the heat of the day, people will be able to sign up to that as well.
Awesome. It's a cool thing that starts happening more at comps, that there's these activations and these workouts, because that always used to be the thing. You go to watch a comp and then you'd be like, oh, but I'm not going to be able to train. It's because you got to get out early to get there and stuff, and then it's a long day, and then you come back and you're like, oh, I've not trained for 3 days, and everyone gets a bit antsy. So now if you're going to the Mad Fitness Festival and you want to train, hit up the the program even stand. I've got Torian on my brain still. Hit up the program stand. As John said, they'll be all over the socials if you want to go along and do the activations. Nice. Anything else, John, before we wrap up today's episode that you wanted to discuss?
No, there was one thing that I mentioned. The Enhanced Games was this weekend.
Yeah, I totally missed it. You mentioned it before we came on, and I was like, oh, was it?
And I thought it was really interesting because they've been building up for I think 18 months or so to get everyone on board. And just reading some of the stats around it and the big hype. So I don't like the concept, because in essence there's just a big marketing funnel in order to get people to buy drugs, or supplements that are kind of pushing into being, they should really be prescription, but you're moving into the world of supplements, therefore not prescription. So I think the model is not great. But looking at it from a perspective of competition, like they're just willing to lose millions of dollars. I think they built the swimming pool that they built was $6 million, like a temporary swimming pool, and put a running track around for $2 million. They also get paid. Obviously, the athletes are really, the ones who are taking drugs, they're ending their career, obviously, because they're admitting to taking drugs. So they're paying them a lot of money. And I thought there was a very interesting thing. They allowed non-enhanced athletes to compete, because there were certain athletes that didn't want to lose their WADA status and go through this. They just wanted to do this competition, tried to get some money, and then go compete in the Olympics or whatever it may be. But the most interesting thing was it was a complete failure from the point of view that no one broke any records. So I think it's there were 30 disciplines that you could have broken a world record, and only one of the disciplines was broken. I think it was the 50-meter freestyle swimming. And it was broken by less than a second. It's just this really, when you're talking about creating superhumans and doing all of this, and that's the big marketing hype, and then you don't break any world records, it just leaves this really weird void. And so, I think in some ways it's good, because I don't think that the promotion of doing drugs basically in order to get better at sports is a really healthy thing for the population. So in some ways I'm quite happy that it didn't take off, but I was just interested to follow it more from an event perspective. But it's also interesting to, that I think they had 200,000 people watching on their YouTube, which for the amount of money invested is not, I would say, not great.
It's not a lot. Not a lot for the amount invested for sure. It'd be interesting to. I mean, like I completely missed it. I didn't even know it was on. So I wonder how many people listening knew it was on as well, or I haven't heard anyone in my social groups kind of mention it at all.
And I think the reason was their hope was you get a new world record, enhanced games. I think those things just go viral. I think they're just looking for viral clips. Because no one broke a world record. Like the thing that popped up to me was it was actually Hapthor failing a deadlift because he went for 515, most ever deadlift, and failed it. And so it's like it's just like a weird representation of the enhanced games.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be, I don't know, critics that sort of say, well, there aren't the best athletes there because, as you mentioned, they don't want to tarnish their careers or not be able to go to the Olympics, which is obviously the big prize and the notoriety. So there aren't even the best athletes there. And then I'm sure there'll be even more cynical people that are like, well, they're probably also
on
not,
drugs. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't I don't, who knows? I'm not sure it's going to finish the debate around this topic, which seems to rage on in all facets of sport.
Yeah. It's very true. I think that's. I think it's an appropriate discussion as well, like controlling these things and improving that aspect of the sport.
Yeah, I mean it's hard because the incentive to do it is to win, and if you're that way inclined, I imagine, and you want to win the big prizes, which is why I was always never really understood what the point of this was, because I don't think you're going to attract the people that are going to maybe benefit from it the most, or potentially win world, beat world records or any of that kind of stuff, because they're still going to want to do that on the biggest stages. So interesting. I mean, it's 2026. It's a wild time to be alive. No one ever thought that this would ever happen, that people would be doing sort of the enhanced games, that it would actually happen, and it did. So
yeah, it's a crazy concept. I mean, just go, okay, well, let everyone take these performance enhancing drugs and all these things, and you're kind of expecting superhuman results. Well, I think that was obviously their hope as well.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm going to stick to watching the CrossFit, I think.
Yeah.
For now. So this weekend we got 3 major semi-finals coming up. Certainly 2 big ones in the Syndicate Crown and the Mad Fitness Festival. John will be at the Mad Fitness Festival, so I'm looking forward to next week. We'll talk about all the action, talk about John being live on the in-person event, and let us know what happened and went down. Anything else, John, before we wrap up?
No, I think it's it covered going into last week of live semi-finals, which I don't know how long it's been, like 5 weeks, 6 weeks or something of them.
Yeah, it feels like it's been a while actually since Mayhem.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, team, we'll catch you on the next episode. As ever, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you have any questions for us, or you want to get involved, we record these live 6 p.m. on a Monday, UK time, at 7 p.m. sort of Spanish time. Feel free to jump on with us. You can ask us questions, leave comments. We did that when we announced the workouts for the Mad Fitness Festival. It was really fun to see people tune in and ask us questions live and comment. Or there's an email address in the description. Feel free to email in to the program, and we'll answer questions, or we'll also take anyone you want us to speak to, or any topics you want us to talk about. Email them in. All right. Well, team, thank you very much for listening. John, thank you as ever. It's great to see you, and we'll catch you on the next one.